Hello and welcome to Jim's EV Adventures and a special edition of EV News Roundup. You've probably seen the headlines already. VinFast VF8, worst car in modern history. Don't buy at any price. American dream cracking from the inside out. I decided to check the actual data, and what I found was not a safety crisis. It was a hit job. Here's what the automotive media wants you to believe. VinFast, a Vietnamese EV startup, shipped dangerous vehicles to America. Safety defects everywhere, recalls piling up, customers fleeing, the worst car ever made. They've got the receipts, right? Fatal crashes, NHTSA investigations, whistleblowers, lawsuits. Sounds pretty damning. Except, I pulled the official NHTSA complaint database, every bit of it, and every EV sold in America from 2023 to 2025, 16 manufacturers, 55 different model years, and I calculated something the media won't calculate: complaint rates per 1,000 vehicles sold. Because here's the thing about complaints. A vehicle that sells 2,000 units and gets 16 complaints looks different than a vehicle that sells 200,000 units and gets 16 complaints, which there are none of those out there. Raw numbers lie, but rates tell the truth. Let's see what the truth actually says. So let's look at the VinFast VF8 model year 2024. 16 NHTSA complaints. 2,000 sold in the U.S. and possibly a little bit more. That's 8 complaints per 1,000 vehicles. Sounds pretty bad, right? Here's what has a higher complaint rate than VinFast. The Chevy Equinox EV. 13 complaints per 1,000. That's 63% higher than VinFast. The Kia EV9, nearly 13 per 1,000, 59% worse than VinFast. The VW ID4 from 2023, 10 complaints per 1,000, 25% worse than VinFast. And the Hyundai Ioniq 9 from 2023, 8.5 per 1,000, and that's still actually higher than VinFast. There are actually 7 vehicles with worse complaint rates than VinFast. VinFast ranks 8 out of 55 EVs analyzed, about middle of the pack. Now let me show you the headlines those other vehicles actually got. The Chevy Equinox EV is a great value and a recommended buy. The Kia EV9, Best 3-Row EV Motor Trend SUV of the Year finalist. The VW ID4, a solid choice. Reliable German engineering. Yeah, okay. No. And then Hyundai Ioniq 5 got an excellent EV and highly recommended headline. The VinFast VF8 with a better complaint rate than the Ioniq 5 is now worst car in modern history and unacceptable in one of the, consumer magazines out there. That's interesting how that works. And it's about right here that I'm hearing somebody in the comment section, hey, what about the fatal crash, the family of 4 that was killed in the VinFast in California? Well, let's talk about that fatal crash because this is where it's going to get really ugly. April 24th, 2024 in Pleasanton, California. A VinFast VF8 crashes, killing 4 people, including 2 children. And that is tragic, absolutely tragic. The owner had actually filed complaints about the steering system, and the media ran with that. VinFast's deadly defect. There was a federal investigation. 4 people dead because of a faulty lane keeping assist system. Here's the deal. I actually pulled the official NHTSA investigation report, case number PE24025. And here's what it says. Fatalities connected to lane keep assist defect, 0. Crashes connected to the defect, 0. Injuries, 0. The investigation note specifically states, ODI does not have any evidence to support that this crash was related to a lane keep assist concern. The crash happened. The complaint was filed, but NHTSA found no evidence linking the steering system defect to those deaths. And the media didn't care. They had their narrative. They ran with it. And now you know the truth. And now I can also hear in the comments section people typing away, well, VinFast has had 4 major recalls. And it sounds bad. They have had 4 recalls, but let's add context. Recall number 1 was a software glitch. They had blank screens, and that was fixed with an update. That's pretty standard for new automakers to have those kind of defects. And then recall number 2 affected 284 vehicles, period. And those 284 vehicles shipped with test airbags instead of the real ones, and it was caught before any accidents. They were replaced. Recall number 3, another airbag-related incident. There was an airbag design flaw. It could hit the driver's arm during side impact, and that was found during NHTSA testing. It was redesigned, and 0 injuries have been reported. And now recall number 4, the lane keeping assist too aggressive in sweeping turns. That was found during NHTSA testing, and it was fixed with a software update. Here's what those recalls have in common. They were caught by testing or proactive investigation, not by crashes, not by deaths, but by engineers doing their jobs. Now, you compare that to Tesla's recall history, or General Motors, or Ford, or any other manufacturer. No different. Total complaints filed across all manufacturers during that 2023 to 2025 timeframe. Tesla, 631. Hyundai, 558. Chevrolet, 496. Volkswagen, 435. Kia, 313. And VinFast, 16. 16. That's the lowest in the entire data set. So why does this matter? Because this is how FUD gets manufactured. Take a new automaker. Find early software bugs, the kind every new EV has, and ignore that Tesla had the same issues. Ignore that Rivian had the same issues. Ignore that Lucid had the same issues. And then write headlines like, worst car ever made. Don't mention that the Chevy Equinox EV has a higher rate, 63% higher complaint rate to be exact. Don't mention that the Kia EV9 has a 59% higher complaint rate. Don't mention that Hyundai's Ioniq 5 has a higher complaint rate. Just ignore that. Just keep saying dangerous, defective, deadly when you talk about the VinFast. And then, when someone dies in a crash and a complaint was filed, report it as a fact that the defect caused the crash, even when NHTSA said there's no evidence. None. And here's the thing. This doesn't just hurt VinFast. Every sensationalized story about EV problems becomes a talking point for the fossil fuel lobbyists. Every manufactured crisis gives ammunition to politicians who want to kill EV incentives. Every clickbait headline makes it harder to convince people that electric vehicles are the future. The media is feeding the FUD machine, and they're doing it for clicks. Now, before you just lambast me in the comments section, I am not saying that VinFast makes perfect vehicles. They don't. The VF8 still has software bugs. The efficiency is mediocre at best. The dealer network in the US is tiny and it's shrinking. But mediocre EV with software bugs doesn't get the same traffic as worst car ever made. Now does it? So they lied, not with false facts, with false context. They told you VinFast had recalls. They didn't tell you that 7 other EVs have had higher complaint rates. They told you about a fatal crash, but they didn't tell you that NHTSA found 0 evidence the defect caused it. They told you VinFast is failing, but they didn't tell you the company sold 110,000 EVs globally in the first 9 months of last year. Now that's 149% growth year over year for that company. The data's in the description. It's in the NHTSA complaint database. It's in the SEC filings, in the Euro NCAP test results. It's all public. It's all verifiable. You can go out and check it yourself if you don't believe me, because if they'll do this to VinFast, they'll do it to any EV that threatens the status quo. I want to thank you for stopping by and watching, and I hope that I get to see you out there or somewhere along the route from point A to point B. And I'll see you all really soon with another episode.